There's a question most people avoid their entire lives. A question so uncomfortable, so threatening, that they build entire walls of distraction to avoid facing it. The question is this: who are you really when nobody's watching? Not who you pretend to be, not who you think you should be, not the version of you that you show the world. Who are you actually? And here's the uncomfortable truth: most people don't know, because they've spent their entire lives being who others expect them to be. The mask you wear. Let me tell you about James. James is successful. He has a good job, a family, a nice house. From the outside, his life looks perfect. But James has a secret. Every morning, before he leaves the house, he puts on a mask. Not a physical mask, a psychological mask. He becomes the James his boss expects, the James his wife needs, the James his parents approved of, the James society accepts. And the real James, the one with doubts, fears, strange desires, thoughts that don't fit, that James stays hidden, buried, denied. For years, James lived this way, and for years, he felt empty. Because when you deny who you really are, you create a void in your soul. A void that no amount of external success can fill. Why you're afraid to be yourself. Here's the truth. You're afraid to be yourself because you believe that if people see who you really are, they'll reject you. You believe your real self isn't good enough, isn't successful enough, isn't normal enough, isn't acceptable enough. So you create an edited version of yourself, a safe version, a version you believe others will approve of. But here's the problem. That version isn't you. It's a performance, and maintaining that performance is exhausting. The psychologist Carl Jung called this the persona, the social mask we wear. And he said something profound. The bigger the persona, the smaller the individual. The more energy you put into being who you think you should be, the less energy you have to be who you really are. Sarah's story. Sarah grew up in a high-achieving family. From childhood, she was told how to be: ambitious, driven, successful, perfect. And Sarah tried to be that person. She studied what her parents wanted. She pursued the career they designed. She lived the life they mapped out. But at 35, Sarah had a breakdown. She couldn't do it anymore. Because the person she was being wasn't her. In therapy, Sarah discovered something. She'd spent 35 years trying to be the perfect daughter, the perfect professional, the perfect woman. But she'd never tried to be Sarah. She didn't even know who Sarah was. And that discovery was terrifying, because it meant she had to start over. She had to discover who she really was, underneath all the expectations, all the shoulds, all the masks. The cost of authenticity. Here's the hard truth. Being yourself has a cost. The cost is that some people won't accept you. Some people will judge you. Some people will reject you. And that fear, the fear of rejection, is what keeps you hiding. But let me tell you something more important. The cost of not being yourself is much higher. The cost is living a life that isn't yours. It's feeling empty even when you're successful. It's reaching the end of your life and realizing you never really lived. As the poet Rumi said, "Don't be satisfied with stories, how things have gone with others. Unfold your own myth." The shadow, what you deny in yourself. Jung had another powerful concept, the shadow. The shadow is everything you deny in yourself, everything you consider unacceptable, everything you hide. Your anger, your selfishness, your sexuality, your ambition, your laziness, your weirdness. Everything you believe you shouldn't be. And here's what's fascinating. The shadow doesn't disappear because you deny it. It gets stronger. It seeps into your life in ways you can't control. James, the man I told you about, denied his anger. He believed a good man doesn't get angry, so he repressed his anger. But the anger didn't go away. It came out in other ways: passive-aggressive sarcasm, silent resentment, sudden explosions that surprised even him. Because what you deny doesn't disappear. It just becomes unconscious. And the unconscious is more dangerous than the conscious. The fear of judgment. In American culture, there's a particular pressure. The pressure to be exceptional, to stand out, to be the best. Are you crushing it? Are you winning? Are you at the top? And that pressure keeps you small, keeps you performing, keeps you living for achievement instead of for your own truth. But here's the irony. The people who judge you most are usually the ones most trapped in their own masks. They're projecting their own fear of being authentic. And the people who really matter, the people who truly love you, those people want to know the real you. Not the edited version, not the performance. You. The paradox of authenticity. Here's something fascinating. When you finally have the courage to be yourself, something magical happens. Yes, some people will reject you. But the right people, your real tribe, will find you. Because authenticity is magnetic. When you're genuinely yourself, you attract people who resonate with who you really are. And those connections are deeper, more real, more satisfying than any relationship based on a mask. Sarah, after her breakdown, made a brave decision. She decided to be herself, no matter the cost. Her family was upset. Some friends drifted away. But something incredible happened. She found new friends who loved her for who she really was. She found work that fulfilled her. She found a life that was hers. And for the first time in 35 years, Sarah felt alive. Now let me show you how to reclaim your real self. How to stop living behind a mask and start living your real life. The Weekly Life Audit. Here's a practice that will change your life. The Weekly Life Audit. Once a week, take 30 minutes, sit down with a notebook, and ask yourself these questions. 1. Where this week did I act from my real self? 2. Where did I act from my mask? 3. What parts of myself did I deny or hide? 4. What cost me energy this week? 5. What gave me energy? This practice does something powerful. It makes you conscious, because you can't change what you can't see. Step 1. Identify your masks. The first step is to identify the masks you wear. Ask yourself, who do I pretend to be at work, with my family, with my friends, on social media? What parts of myself do I hide? What emotions do I repress? What desires do I deny? What thoughts do I censor? Let me give you an example. Robert realized he wore the mask of the perfect professional at work. He never showed doubt, never admitted not knowing something, never showed vulnerability, and that mask was killing him. Because maintaining it required constant energy, and it isolated him from real connections with his colleagues. Step 2. Track your energy. Here's something fascinating. Your energy tells you the truth. When you act from your real self, you feel energized. Even if the work is hard, you feel alive. When you act from your mask, you feel drained. Even if the work is easy, you feel empty. So track your energy. At the end of each day, ask yourself, what gave me energy today? What took it away? And you'll notice a pattern. The things that give you energy are usually the things where you're most authentic. The things that drain your energy are usually the things where you're performing. Step 3. Experiment with small truths. You don't have to reveal everything at once. Start small. Experiment with small truths. Small moments of authenticity. Instead of saying, "I'm fine," when you're not, say, "I'm having a tough day." Instead of pretending to like something you don't, say honestly, "That's not for me." Instead of hiding your opinion, share it, even if it's different from the majority. These small acts of authenticity are like exercise. They strengthen your authenticity muscle. Michael's story. Michael was an accountant, but he hated accounting. He'd studied it because his parents wanted him to have a safe career. For 10 years, Michael lived a lie. He went to work every day feeling dead inside. But he couldn't admit it, because it would mean disappointing his parents. It would mean admitting he'd wasted 10 years. But at 32, Michael started the weekly life audit, and every week the same truth emerged. Accounting drained all his energy. What gave him energy was music, something he'd abandoned years ago. It took a year, but Michael finally had the courage to make a change. He quit accounting. He started teaching music. His parents were disappointed. Some friends thought he was crazy, but Michael finally felt alive, because he was living his life, not the life others designed for him. Step 4. Find your tribe. Here's something important. You can't be authentic in isolation. You need people who see you, who accept you, who celebrate who you really are. Find your tribe. Find people who value authenticity, who are themselves, who give you permission to be yourself. It might be a therapy group, a men's or women's circle, an online community, a close friend who really listens. But you need at least one space where you can take off the mask, where you can be completely you. Step 5. Integrate your shadow. Remember the shadow, everything you deny in yourself. The deepest step is to integrate your shadow. This doesn't mean acting on every impulse. It means acknowledging every part of you, accepting it, understanding it. You have anger. That's okay. Everyone does. The question isn't whether you have anger, but what you do with it. You have selfishness. That's okay. Everyone does. The question is how you balance it with generosity. You have strange desires. That's okay. Everyone does. The question is how you honor them in healthy ways. When you integrate your shadow, you become whole. You're no longer split between who you are and who you pretend to be. The mirror practice. Here's a powerful exercise. The mirror practice. Once a week, stand in front of a mirror. Look into your eyes and say out loud, "I see you. I see your fear. I see your pain. I see your shame. I see your weirdness. And I accept you completely." This might sound simple, but it's profoundly difficult, because we're used to rejecting ourselves. But when you practice self-acceptance, something shifts. You start needing less approval from others, because you're giving yourself the approval you always sought outside. The cost of conformity. Let me be clear about something. Conformity has a cost. The cost is your vitality, your creativity, your joy, your life. Every time you deny who you are to fit in, you die a little. Every time you hide your truth to be accepted, you lose a piece of your soul. And at the end of your life, you won't regret the times you were rejected for being yourself. You'll regret the times you rejected yourself to be accepted. the freedom of authenticity. But here's the good news. When you finally have the courage to be yourself, you experience something priceless. Freedom. The freedom to not have to perform. The freedom to not have to hide. The freedom to simply be. And that freedom, that's real life. That's the life worth living. Sarah, after years of being herself, told me something I'll never forget. Before, I was afraid that if people saw the real me, they'd reject me. Now I know that if people reject me, they're not my people. And that's okay, because I'd rather be rejected for who I am than accepted for who I'm not. That's the wisdom of authenticity. Now let me tell you the deepest truth about being yourself. The truth that changes everything. Your true self isn't fixed. Here's something most people don't understand. Your true self isn't a fixed thing you discover once and you're done. Your true self is something you create continuously. It's a process, not a destination. Every week, when you do your life audit, you're not just discovering who you are, you're deciding who you want to be. Because authenticity isn't just about expressing who you are now, it's about becoming who you truly want to be. The difference between authenticity and indulgence. Let me clarify something important. Being authentic doesn't mean doing whatever you feel in the moment. It doesn't mean being cruel because that's just who I am. It doesn't mean being irresponsible because I'm being authentic. True authenticity requires discernment. It requires asking yourself, is this action coming from my higher self or my lower self? Is it coming from my wisdom or my wound? There's a difference between expressing your anger healthily and exploding on someone. There's a difference between honoring your needs and being selfish. Real authenticity is conscious. It's intentional. It's responsible. The deep audit, the questions that change everything. Now let me give you the deepest questions for your weekly audit. These are the questions that truly transform. 1. Where this week did I betray my truth? Not where others betrayed you, where you betrayed yourself. 2. What conversation do I need to have but am avoiding? Because authenticity requires the courage to speak your truth. 3. What am I tolerating that I shouldn't tolerate? Because every time you tolerate the intolerable, you betray yourself. 4. Where am I living someone else's life? Where am I following someone else's script? 5. What's costing me more energy, being myself or pretending to be someone else? This question tells you everything. Emma's story. Emma was a doctor, successful, respected, well-paid. But every Sunday night, she felt a weight in her chest. The weight of another week of pretending. Pretending that medicine mattered to her as much as it should. Pretending she was fulfilled. Pretending this was the life she wanted. When Emma started the weekly audit, the truth emerged slowly. She hadn't chosen medicine. Her parents had chosen it. She'd spent 15 years living their dream, not hers. But here's what Emma did that was different. She didn't quit medicine immediately. First, she started making small changes. She started saying no to shifts she didn't want. She started spending more time with patients in ways that mattered to her. She started exploring other passions in her free time. And slowly, Emma created a life that was hers. She didn't abandon everything, but she stopped living her parents' life and started living hers. The power of the energy inventory. Here's a specific tool that will change your life. The energy inventory. Every week, make a list of everything you spend your time and energy on. Everything. Work, relationships, activities, obligations, everything. Then, next to each thing, write a number from 1 to 10. -10 equals gives me massive energy, I feel alive. -5 equals neutral. -1 equals drains me completely. Now look at your list. How much of your life is in the 1 to 4 range? Those are the things that are killing you. And here's the powerful question. Which of those things can you eliminate, delegate, or transform? You can't eliminate everything that drains you. Life has responsibilities. But you can eliminate more than you think. The trap of performative authenticity. Here's a warning. In the age of social media, there's a new trap. Performative authenticity. It's when you share your real self on Instagram, when you post about your authentic journey, when you make your authenticity a show. But real authenticity isn't a show. It's private. It's quiet. It's between you and you. You don't need to announce that you're being authentic. You just need to be it. The deepest fear. Let me tell you the deepest fear we all have. The fear that if we're really ourselves, we'll discover there's nothing there. That underneath all the masks, all the performances, all the expectations, there's nobody. That fear is what keeps most people hiding their entire lives. But let me tell you the truth. There is someone there. There's a real, deep, complex, beautiful you. But you'll only discover it if you have the courage to look. The practice of radical truth. Here's the most powerful practice. Radical truth. Once a week, write in your journal the truths you'd never say out loud. The truths that scare you. The truths that shame you. The truths you believe would make you unacceptable. You don't have to share these truths with anyone, but you have to admit them to yourself. Because you can't be authentic with others if you're not authentic with yourself first. The final call. So what will you do now? Will you keep living behind a mask? Or will you have the courage to be yourself? Here's what I know. Life is too short to live it as someone else. Every day you spend pretending is a day you'll never get back. Every moment you spend hiding your truth is a lost moment of your real life. And at the end, when you look back, only one question will matter. Did I live my life or someone else's? Start this week. Take 30 minutes. Do your first life audit. Ask yourself, where am I being myself? Where am I performing? What's costing me energy? What's giving me life? And then make one small change. One small act of authenticity. One small truth. Because authenticity isn't a big leap, it's 1,000 small steps. 1,000 small choices to be real instead of safe. The final truth. Here's the truth that will set you free. You don't need everyone's approval. You just need your own approval. And when you give yourself that approval, when you accept yourself completely, with all your weirdness, all your flaws, all your humanity, something magical happens. You stop needing others to validate you. You stop living for their approval. You stop hiding. And you start living. Really living. Not the life you're supposed to live. The life that's yours. Now, choose. Choose to be yourself.